Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in, and today we're going to look at some scopes in JavaScript. Some of the things we're going to look at is hoisting in JavaScript, function scope, block scope. We're going to look at module scope a little bit. So yeah, let's get right to it. Cool, so to start off with, we're going to look at JavaScript's default behavior of hoisting variables. So scope in JavaScript, scope just determines the accessibility of variables, objects, and functions from different parts of the code. Okay. So first, we're going to start by kind of explaining the way hoisting kind of works in JavaScript. So if you have a variable name here, let's say we set it equal to the string of Nevram. If we come here over on line 6, we do a console.log of name. We save that. Now we try to give it a run. We're able to successfully log Nevram to our console. But let's say we took this away and we tried to move it up to before when we declared our variable name and assigned it to Nevram. So the way hoisting works in JavaScript, hoisting is just JavaScript's default behavior of moving declarations to the top of the page. Okay, so let me repeat that. Hoisting is JavaScript's default behavior of moving declarations to the top of the page. So with that behavior, JavaScript moves the declaration to the top of the page, but not the actual assignment of the variable. Okay, so essentially right now, we're going to be able to successfully run our program. We're not going to run into any errors, but instead of successfully logging Nevram to the console, it's actually just going to log undefined for us. Okay, so yes, we're able to log a name variable, but the name variable, according to our program right now, it hasn't been assigned anything yet. And that's because of JavaScript's default behavior of moving declarations to the top of the page, not the assignment. And hoisting it only works with the var keyword. For example, let's say we declare this variable with let. We would get an actual error for this. Now it wouldn't just log undefined. Now it should tell us name is not defined or something. It should give us a whole bunch of error messages. There we go. Cannot access name before initialization. Again, hoisting in JavaScript only works with the var keyword. Let's try it with the const keyword. Give it a run. We get cannot access name before initialization. We change it to var. And now it's just going to log undefined to our console for us. And again, that's because of JavaScript's default behavior with hoisting of moving declarations to the top of the page, not the assignment. So from here, we run it, we log undefined to our console. If we move this down here, it's going to successfully log Nevram for us. Okay. So we could do something like, let's say we had this here. If we want it, we could go ahead and assign our variable something different on line 1. Okay, so let's call this Rilatum. Save it. Now it's going to log Rilatum to the console for us. Cool. And if we took the exact same console.log, copied it, move it to after line 4, we get Nevram for that. So we're going to get Rilatum and then Nevram printed to the console. Cool. And the reason we're able to successfully do this is, again, because JavaScript is hoisting this name variable for us to the top of the page. For example, let's say we had this as let or const. Since the declaration isn't being brought up to the top of the page, and we try assigning the string Rilatum to the name variable, it should give us an error, okay? Because at this point, since we're using the let keyword, name isn't going to get hoisted. So right now we're trying to assign a string to a variable that has never been declared yet, essentially, the way our code is set up right now. If we run this, we should get an error. Cannot access name before initialization. Name equals Rilatum. If we change this to const, we should run into a similar issue. But if we change it to var, due to hoisting, JavaScript's going to move that declaration to the top of the page for us. We're able to run that. All right, awesome. So that's mainly it for hoisting in JavaScript. And now we're just going to look at block level, function level scope, and module level scope. So at module level scope, a module is essentially, so for example, this 4.scope.js file we're not on right now represents a module. So if we went to like a different file like functions.js or loops.js, we wouldn't be able to access any variables we have inside of our scope.js here. That's because they're module scope, okay? So if we wanted to be able to access a variable from a different file, we would have to use the use of the export keyword, do something like variable name equals dog. And then in the other file that we're working with, we would go in there and do an import statement. So we do something like import name from, and then we would just specify like the relative path of the file where we're getting that export from. So that's how you would kind of work with module level scopes, because again, in different files, you don't have access to those variables. And in terms of function scope, so let's say we have a function here, we call it namer. Let's do let name equals Nevron. Okay, let's save that. If we come over on line 6, try logging it, we should get name is not defined. So with function scope, anything inside of a function we cannot access outside of that function. It doesn't matter how we declare it, if it's with the let keyword, var keyword, or const keyword, we're not going to be able to access that variable. So if we try to run this as it is, we get name is not defined, and it gives us an error for that const.log. Let's change this to the const keyword. Minor typo. Save. Run it. The name is not defined. And if we change it to var, save. Name is not defined. Okay, so again, anything inside of the function we can't access outside of the function. If we wanted to access that, we would have to have our console.log inside of our function. So now it doesn't matter what keyword we use, we'll be able to access that variable. Oh, that's because we're not calling our function. Call it, run. We get never printed to the console. Let's change this to the const keyword. Never printed to the console. Change it to let. Save. Get never printed to the console. Okay. So anything inside of the function, it doesn't matter the keyword, we cannot access it. Cool. Now let's take a look at block level scope. So let's go ahead and do our while. Let's do let x equals 0 while x is less than 5 or something like that. Let's do a let name equals never. Save it. No, let's do like a Alright, and now if we come here on line 7, try to put a console.log of name, we get not defined. Change this to const. We will not be able to access that either. We will get undefined. I mean, same error as we're getting right now. Name is not defined. And if we change this to var, then we'll have access to it in the block scope. So run it. We get never log to our console. Okay. So with function scope, it doesn't matter the keyword we use. We can't access it outside of that block. In block scope, so let's say you had an if statement, if else statements, while loop, for loop, any type of loops that's in a block, we can access that variable as long as is declared with a var keyword. So this could be like any block of code. For example, we could just take out this while loop here, just leave a standalone block of code like that. Not sure why you would do that, but cool. Leave it just like that. If we try to run it, we should get nevrum logs to console. Change it to let or const or something. The name is not defined. All right, awesome. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I wanted to go over for this video. We went over block level scope, function scope. We discussed module scopes a little bit and how that kind of works. And we also went over hoisting. So JavaScript's default behavior of hoisting and what that kind of means for us with our program. If you enjoyed this video and gained any type of value from it, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.